Listen, if you're a competitive wrestler, or maybe a coach or a parent supporting one, you already know the deal. Weight cutting is, let's be honest, it's usually the most grueling, miserable, and misunderstood part of the entire sport. We've all seen it, right? Athletes completely draining themselves to hit an arbitrary number on the scale, only to step onto the mat with an entirely empty gas tank. But what if there was a better way? Well, today, in this explainer, we're unpacking the incredible 2024 Olympic journey of Mijain Lopez. We're going to look at a brand new 2025 study from the Journal of Functional Morphology and Kinesiology that clinically tracked his weight reduction. And we'll see exactly how his journey redefined smart, safe body composition. So here's our game plan for today. 1. Meet legend Mijain Lopez. 2. The heavyweight challenge. 3. The science of preserving muscle. And finally, 4. Smart habits and safety first.
All right, Section 1, Meet legend Mijain Lopez.
Before we dig into the clinical data, we really need to understand the man himself. We are talking about arguably the most dominant athlete in the entire history of Greco-Roman wrestling. Just look at that number, 5. That represents his astonishing 5 consecutive Olympic gold medals in the 130-kilogram category. And he capped off this unbelievable run at the Paris 2024 Games at age 41. I mean, pulling that off against the absolute best in the world at 41 years old, it takes pure physiological perfection. And how he managed his body was a massive, massive piece of that puzzle.
Which brings us to Section 2, the heavyweight challenge.
Here's the wild part about his Paris run. After the Tokyo Games back in 2021, Lopez actually retired for 2.5 years. And, life happens. His weight crept up to around 150 kilos. So to get back on that Olympic mat, he had to safely drop back down to the 130-kilogram weight class limit. That is a 44-pound difference, guys. For anyone, let alone a super heavyweight in his 40s, slashing that much weight incorrectly, it would completely torture strength and stamina.
But he didn't just stop eating and hop in a sauna. To pull this off safely, his team used a hyper-calculated 3-phase protocol. Just look at how gradual this timeline is. Phase 1, from January all the way to June, was strictly about stabilization. They kept his protein super high. We're talking 1.6 to 2.0 grams per kilo of body weight a day. And here's the real kicker. He didn't compete. They totally removed the stress of competition. Then came Phase 2, a 36-day active reduction where they bumped his protein up even higher to act as a shield for his muscles. And finally, Phase 3 was the final cut leading into the August Games.
Now, full transparency, you might be a little curious about that final Phase 3. The exact details of that last drop from 138.5 kilos down to exactly 130 were actually kept confidential. It's a protected national procedure by the Cuban National Institute of Sports Medicine. But honestly, that's okay, because the researchers captured an absolute goldmine of clinical data during that 36-day active reduction in Phase 2, and that right there is where the real lessons are for us.
Let's jump into Section 3, the science of preserving muscle.
To really grasp the core findings of this 2025 study, you need to know how they were measuring him. The scientists didn't just have him step on a rusty locker room scale. They used advanced techniques, ISAK anthropometry, which is just a fancy way of saying incredibly precise standardized body measurements, alongside bioelectrical impedance analysis, or BIA. For the smart athlete out there, BIA basically sends tiny, totally painless electrical signals through your body. Since muscle, fat, and water all conduct electricity differently, this tech gave his team an exact map of what kind of weight he was actually losing.
And wow, the results from those 36 days are staggering. His overall body weight dropped by 6.1%. But look closely at where that weight came from. He shredded a massive 13.5% of his subcutaneous fat. That's the fat stored just under the skin, while his muscle mass only decreased by a tiny 2.2%. Guys, this is literally the holy grail of weight cutting. He stripped away the fat but heavily preserved the exact muscle engine he needed to throw heavy weights around the mat.
And it gets cooler. They also tracked a really fascinating metric called phase angle. It's derived from that BIA test we just talked about. Without getting bogged down in the physics, your phase angle is basically a direct window into how healthy, intact, and hydrated your cells are. If a wrestler does one of those awful rapid water cuts, their cells get absolutely depleted and their phase angle plummets. A healthy normal range is between 5 and 7 degrees. Keeping this number perfectly stable is the secret to an athlete not crashing when the whistle blows.
So check this out. At the start of this intense Phase 2 cut, Lopez's phase angle was 6.1 degrees. By the end of those 36 days, after dropping down to 138.5 kilos, it was at 5.6 degrees, meaning even while shedding all that weight, his cellular health stayed totally solid and firmly within that normal, healthy range. His biological engine was completely intact.
All right, move into our final section, smart habits and safety first.
Because here is the absolute most crucial takeaway from this whole explainer. Lopez didn't use some secret magic trick. His success was built on strict, science-backed habits. Number 1, a consistently high protein intake to shield those muscles. Number 2, a super slow, gradual timeline. Think months, not days. Number 3, allowing his body to adapt without the insane stress of active competition during the primary cut. And finally, tracking real internal metrics, not just obsessing over a meaningless number on a scale.
The researchers also dropped a really interesting nugget for the big guys out there. While general sports medicine standards might push for a super lean 5% minimum body fat, the researchers point out that for a super heavyweight like Lopez, chasing 5% is just counterproductive. They argue that 13% body fat is a much more functional, realistic, and vastly safer minimum baseline for this specific weight class. Now, I need to pause right here and wave a massive red flag, because this is vital. Aggressive or rapid weight cutting carries severe, very real health risks. This study of Mijain Lopez is an elite, highly medically supervised case study of a literal Olympian. It is absolutely not a DIY plan for you to try out in your garage. We do not, under any circumstances, encourage rapid, extreme, or dangerous weight cuts. Doing that can permanently damage a young athlete's physical development and overall health. So if you are an athlete wrestling with the scale or a parent trying to guide your kid, you have to follow these non-negotiable guardrails. First, play the long game. Adopt a slow, gradual approach to your body composition. Second, never go it alone. Always work with qualified coaches and real medical or nutrition professionals. And third, prioritize your cellular health and your muscle over a quick, dangerous drop just to make weight.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on. Look at how the greatest of all time did it. He succeeded because he protected his body's engine while safely dropping the cargo. Ask yourself that question on the screen. Are you prioritizing long-term health or just chasing a number? Talk to your coaches, talk to a pro, and let's rethink how we approach the scale. Until next time, stay safe out there and train smart.